thing is, this time I'm going to be showing you how to print very large linocuts. This one is not the largest I've got, but it's big enough to show you kind of the capacity that will be used. First of all, I'm going to show you what the bed sheet is. The bed sheet is absolutely crucial. What it is that this is what you put your inked up block on, and then put your other piece of paper on top so that it's exactly registered where you want it. Now, because I've had a bit of practice, I generally do this by eye. I've already done this one, so what we've got here, you can see the outline of it. Is what I've done is I've put the block down, centered it by eye, although there is a canny way of doing it, but I'm not going to show you that today. Then you get it exactly where you want it in position, right? Then what you do, I've gone through this process so many times. I used to have an assistant called Bruno who used to help me with it, but now I can do it on my own. What you do is you then take out the block, you put the piece of paper on top exactly where you want it, roll the piece of paper back, ink up the block, put it where it needs to be, and then put it back onto the inked up block, right? So this is your bed sheet, and I'm going to put it down on the travelling bed here, because I used to print all of these by hand with a thing called a parin, rubbing the back of it like this, and every print took me 2 hours. So I don't know how long I've got to live, but I've realised that time is better used, I don't know, doing whatever I want to do, and not burnishing blocks. So I've invested in a lovely polymetal JW80 there, which is a beautiful, beautiful press, and that does the hard work for me. Right, so there's my block. I'm going to ink up over here now. I'm not one for doing product placement, but in this case there's absolutely no avoiding it. The first time I used this ink was at Atlanta Printmakers. Kathy Garou showed it to me. It's Vanson rubber-based ink, and there is nothing quite like it, because there's something about the way the molecular structure sits on the surface of the block, which means you get, even the finest detail is restored, it is kept, and the blacks are solid, and no other printing ink is as good. So there you go. If Vanson are watching this, I'm running a bit low. You could possibly send me a couple of tins. Call that job done. What I'm doing, okay, is I'm just inking up with this Lawrence roller, and what I used to do for years and years and years and years is I would ink up like this, and then I saw a how-to video with a big bearded macho American bloke in Italy doing it like this, and I thought, what a macho poseur. I thought, I shall never do it like that. But it increases the angle. What you want to do, what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get the ink as flat as possible, as quickly as possible, and you've got more downward pressure, which does that beautifully. Now, for a big block like that, it needs to be quite audible. If you listen, that's kind of what you want. And if you look at the bed here, it's beautiful. It looks like terciopelo, which is what in English? Velvet. Velvet. Thank you. Doesn't that look gorgeous? And I could just do this all day. Anyway, no, I better get on. Thing is with lino, even this lino, which has been flattened for a long time, it does originally come from a roll, and because it comes from a roll, it tends to have a funny kind of effect. What happens is the centre of it goes flat, and then it rises up and then it falls down again. So if you look at it in profile, it kind of goes like that. This means even when you're running it through a press, that you've got to give extra inking to the edges all the way around. So it's just a matter, of course, as you're inking, to always make sure that you're covering the edges and the corners. You might like to talk amongst yourselves here. Going really nice the other days. See here, I've got spots of ink that need to be flattened out. In the old press trade, if you had white specks on a block, they were known as friars, and if you had black blobs on a block, they were known as monks, because of the clothing of monks and friars. Friars are white, monks are black. It's amazing to think all printed material was done this way once upon a time. And it exists now as a fine art medium, and we have that thing called artificial scarcity, whereby what you're supposed to do is destroy the block once the addition is completed. So if this is an addition of 20, once it's done, you're supposed to, what's known as striking the block, you're supposed to strike the block. I've never known anybody to do that, ever. This is the thing about it though, is it's all just so lovely. Everything about it, the medium that you're working on, the printing ink, the presses, the barons, the tools, everything is just gorgeous to work with. Right, so what I'm doing now is, once I'm fairly sure the whole thing is pretty much covered, I think I didn't abrade this block. That's why I can see under the surface that the ink hasn't penetrated entirely. This means that now I'm giving extra attention to areas that have a large amount of black. Some printmakers are not concerned with solid blacks. I am obsessed with them. The thing is about doing an edition is that they all have to be identical, or as identical as it's possible to make them. If there's large variation in the impressions, you are not printing professionally. They should be drummed out of the regiment. Right, now I'm looking at that. And what I'm seeing, the best way always to look at a print when you're linking it up is to cock your head like a cockatoo and kind of look at it at a funny angle. I'm looking at that now, and it's pretty sparkly all over. So fingers crossed, that should be inked up now. Now this is a bit that I'm very proud of, because so far as I know, I've discovered this technique. This goes out to all of the people in Japan who make Sunome Senaka, because I found it to be the only paper that works. Sunome Senaka has got a laid paper surface on one side and a heat pressed surface on the other side. You use the heat press side because you want as little resistance as you can possibly get in terms of texture. Now what I'm doing is I'm sizing up this piece of paper to exactly cover the bed sheet. And the innovation is, once upon a time, before I knew any better, I would try and get this into place with the inked up block already there. So you're going, oh, that's why I had to employ Bruno, who used to stand at my side like that and hold the other side of the piece of paper. Now I can do it on my own, and what I'm doing is I'm making sure that this piece of paper is exactly on top of the other one, and then here comes the magic bit. You get yourself a metre rule. I know I'm obscuring this, but never mind. You'll see the magic in a minute. And you slide it underneath, and then you get these little chappies, neodymium magnets, which are incredibly powerful. And in fact, I've taken skin off my lip having these in my mouth once whilst trying to do something like a fool. Anyway, look. So these neodymium magnets you place all along the bottom edge. They hold the paper in place. You draw back the piece that you're going to be printing on, and very carefully let it slide down the back there. Sunome Senaka is the only paper that will do this job that I've found anyway. Right, so here's our block. Just checking for fryers. No, looks clear. Placing it in position to the marks that I've already drawn around in pencil. Now this is a tricky bit. This paper is brilliant, but it is nevertheless temperamental. And so even now there's a problem in handling it because it's big and floppy and wobbly. What I'm trying to do is create a curve so that when it falls onto the paper it doesn't buckle. It sometimes will do anyway, but that's what I'm trying to do. Oh yes, I have to say I think that's the first time I've ever done it without any drawbacks. Then you just simply pull out your straight edge and the diamondium magnets, and it's in place. And now once it's there, then it's stuck to, the ink is stuck to the paper, so it's not going anywhere. So you can just roughly smooth it down. Now you see the thing is now what I would used to have to do is spend an hour and a half with a butt end burnishing the back of it and peeling it back and checking it and peeling it back and checking it. But I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm 51 years old. I'm quite committed to printmaking now, and so I bought a very large press to do that sort of thing for me. Next thing, is to get a large piece of card again. This stops any creases forming from the pressure of the blankets and the rollers. It tends to make the paper kind of form into little creases like I don't know what. Anyway, but this gets rid of that problem, the creasage problem. Lay down the blankets. And this bit that used to take 2 hours now takes about 10 seconds. Here we go. And if you're doing this in a collective studio, don't ever do that. It's something known as spinning the wheel. And if you're dealing with a press like a rush hat or something like that, that can smash a femur. So don't recommend that. And now this here, oh dear, I don't know what happened there. Oh, that went through, yeah, okay. This here is a reason to be cheerful. I've been doing this for a very long time, but there is nothing whatsoever that competes with the thrill of drawing back. Right, so this is the big reveal. This is the bit that never leaves you. The magic and excitement of seeing the image revealed. Look at that. You have to admit that's miraculous, don't you? Oh, that's a beauty. Look. Nice solid blacks. No bleed. Oh, I'm a happy boy. Look. Oh, yes. That's fab. Okay. And there we are. I'm pretty happy with that. That's a good impression. Nice solid blacks, not much bleed. Happy boy.